Hello, friends. Okay, continuing now. This is a retrospect, hindsight commentary. So this is video number 3. Hopefully, it won't be as long as the one I did yesterday and the day before. But I got very important uh, 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 notes or observations to make. Okay, so this is the planet we saw at the start. Like a planet, and then there is the letter S, as I showed you, right? It's the letter S, right? Or two prongs, or two shoots, or two whatever wires hanging around the planet. They are not exactly these two halos, or whatever you want to call them. They're not exactly rings like Saturn, right? Or other planets, right? Prominently, the one that is prominently displaying rings is Saturn. But you'll see that around Neptune and Pluto, I think. So what are these two, right? What are these two? Let me show you what are these two. I got, like I said, a little bit better observation on this here. Okay, so that planet with those two S's around it really is this one too, right? And then there's, of course, that planet, the one we saw in the introduction or the display of the titles, is really Abraham. And then he's got those two wires around it, like forming an S, like double S's, right? Similar to the dollar sign. That's him. That's Lambert. And its descendants, right? So the line from Abraham is Lambert. And then there's Ripley. That is everybody else, right? So there's Abraham, there's Lambert, there's Ripley, and everybody else. Or this could mean the one that they're after. And then it's going to be between one of the two here, right? So you see my theory here. I mean, it calls for a discussion. And again, maybe Ridley can solve this riddle for us, right? I don't want to speculate about the man, but there's plenty of esoteric and arcane material here. The story is well buried in the details and the confines of the script and so on. It's like a real dogma that lives among certain class of people, right? You'll find it in the protocols. If you want to know, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll find it in the protocols. Time to go and hear those protocols again. I'm going to add one protocol to it, protocol number 25, when time comes, when I'm doing the commentary on this movie. All right, so that's what I think it is, right? So that's Abraham. And now they don't land, right? They don't land on the main planet. They land on one of those moonlets. Remember when I showed you that in yesterday's commentary, or commentary? All right, let's continue. Okay, here's what I mean by that. You see that that's the planet, and that's like the S around it, right? They are entangled somehow, that planet or one of the moonlets is where they're landing now, that LV 426, right? Windswept, or it's like a abandoned city and whatnot, right? But you see it here, right? See that red wire, right? And there's the two and red wire, but then one is connected and one is not, as a matter of fact. So it's the significance of that, in my opinion, right? I don't know, maybe that's 4625. It's got to say something here. There's a number here as well. I can't read it, you know. Again, so what that means, I think, is only she and Jonesy will remain, right? So, and as you can see, all you have to do is just add another one, another S, and then you see the planet and those two arms or two S's, crossing it, right, or connecting to it. That's what it is. And again, that's what I think the significance of that is really she and the Jonesy the cat will remain, and everybody else perishes. I am back thinking that really Brett is really her son by way of Parker, right? Because that's how she got Parker down by way of marriage and having a child. Now she want to get God, right, or Allah by way of marriage and bringing it down. We'll see. I'll show you what I mean, because I'm not making this up or exaggerating or just, this is not a guesswork. I'm using or I'm observing evidence within the movie itself, right? About what the declarations or statements I am making here. And when it comes to within the movies, the context of the movie, right, or the film itself, they make a lot of sense actually. You can argue them, of course, if you have better view of it, all to the better. But that's what I'm seeing now. So you see that here, right? And it's not connected to both of them, right? So only one remains, and that's her side, right? Is what we're seeing here, what we're observing. And again, I told you this looks like earlier when she sat down, it looked like the space jockey, or the one woman that hops around in nations and cultures and civilizations and so on and so forth. Okay, I am back to this scene here, but believe me, this is a major milestone of the movie here. This is a major milestone, similar to when that face hugger latched onto Cain, right? There are major milestones. In some scenes, you get almost an explanation for the entire movie. But let's go about it. So this guy is timing, because now they're running, on time against schedule, right? So as we can see, there's like a conversation, right? Remember when Halloran told Danny or Doc, 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 that he and his grandmother would conduct a conversation for hours, right? Without saying a word. There's a conversation here you don't hear, but you should see. You should be able to observe. And again, I mentioned to you, this is the one of the main or one of the communication mediums of the deep state, the immediate deep state. Not the only one, but that's one of them. Food is terrible, right? Now, observe Ash, right? Well, Ash is eating, and eating here, I believe, at least in this scene or parts of the movie, means getting paid, right? Dollars, right? Shares, gold, options, stock options. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing if you ever got screwed on stock options, and then none of it came to you afterwards, right? So I don't know, but that's what it means. Eating, that's what it means. He's hiding here. Now, notice here, I mentioned to you, he's a little bit obscured by smoke, right? But then there's something, right? He starts looking, right? Notice, I mean, that's like an evil look, right? One look, and here in the hand, like through the hand or the palm of Cain, right? Something here, right, is happening here. But he eating, it's saying a couple of things here. I do believe now this is one of two things. Either he's communicating to the spirit that is now attending, right? And notice he's looking too, right? Let's see. Notice he's either saying this is the carrier of the money safe, right? The safe of the money. He's gonna be a bearer of the spirit to be captured, or the money safe, right? The safe of the money, right? Or he's looking at the entity, and because Parker and Brett were griping about shares and whatnot, right, and bonuses, what he's saying here is feed him, Parker, feed Parker, right? Give Parker something, right? Why would he want to do that? Apparently because he wants the operation to continue smoothly, right? Or something, maybe he's saying something else here, like gobble this guy up, or something of the sort. So he is communicating something, or on a second thought, he is eating on his own, right? Like I said, he has his own agenda outside of everybody else circles and alliance, right? And then he's looking here surreptitiously. This is like a look of a guilty party, right? So let's do that. See, I mean, that shows up here pretty clearly. I mean, that's like the white of the eye. It's pretty evil, right? Right, that's pretty evil. And then you see Jonesy, of course. Now, I mentioned that Jonesy, when I was commenting on The Shining, or partly thereof, and don't take that as conclusive, right? Like I said, that's just like throwing my 2 cents on that particular scene. There are other locations in that movie where I can comment on, but I really don't have the detailed review. I have not performed or committed to a detailed review of that movie. I don't think I will either, right? So here, Jonesy, I said, is equivalent to Doc or Danny in The Shining. I don't think so. I don't think so. Here now, I have another theory, as a matter of fact. Why the personality of Jonesy is a cat, not a human being, right? Why is it a cat? Well, it's a human being, but it's a cat, meaningly, that type of human beings that we are, and then some people say that we're not really human beings, and void of soul, and so on and so forth, right? I mean, I don't want to like make you feel bad, but yes, in this world there are people who look at me and you and think we're not even humans, right? Or they call us talking monkeys and whatnot, right? Yeah, these would be the in the Planet of the Apes. These would be the apes, right? And then we, the humans. You know how the humans in the Planet of the Apes, Zira, the first one, right? You know how they're marauding the cornfields and stealing food and so on, like animals, right? But the civilized ones are the monkeys, the ones who was in charge. Hey, guess what? You know what that means, right? If you ever want to know, let me know. I'll explain it to you. But the makers of those movies know what I'm talking about, or their their world, for that matter, or occult, or whatever it is. They know what I'm talking about, right? So that's what I think. I think these are okay. The other possibility is that these are not really humans, right? And then that's the human, but they don't want to tell you that. So they use a metaphor, or they kind of cross over from one reality into another as to disguise their purpose. And this cat here means us a human, and they are not really humans, right? Maybe they're not humans, right? So maybe the actors here are not exactly humans. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so that's my other notes here. My other note, right? And again, I explained those two dipping pairs, what they are. And I think that's the two S's, right? One is bowing down to the other because the first one, one has a good position, the other one bows down to it, or they're sharing, here they're sharing the coffee or the food, right? So there's some kind of a deal between the two. They're sharing things, right? And here he just grabbed whatever Ripley tossed to him. And then notice, when they obscure each other, right? All that has meanings. It's not haphazard, right? Let's see. So notice when he, right? Keep playing that. Let's keep playing that. Now, in preparations for explaining who Brett is, and I think, like I said, I am back believing that he is son of Ripley out of Parker, right? But, I will never be conclusive about this guy, but I know exactly whom he represents, the group of people or the religion or the occult or whatever it is. I will explain it to you. right? So notice the birds now, one is dipping to the other, similar to a Japanese etiquette or formal custom of respect and so on. So now he's obscured his face, right? I mean, it could be a coincidence. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but no, I don't think so, right? Now, why would he want to put him, like maybe this guy, right, wanted to block, how, let me see. So when whoever it is does something, right, to Parker, Ash blocked Dallas's vision, right? He made sure that Dallas doesn't see what happened here. Ripley throwing something to Parker, right? You notice, right? Notice. He's looking. So now upon the toss, right? Ash obscures Dallas's line of sight. Notice. So he grabbed it, right? While he covered for him. He didn't want him to see that, right? So this guy is really subtle. I mean, he's got some real subtle gestures and moves. And he's like all isolated in his brain, right? See, he missed the whole thing. Otherwise, he would have seen what was thrown or tossed towards Parker, which is like a dog, right? Here's a bone, right? Or a ball, go get it, or something of the sort. This guy has a relationship or some kind of a bond or link with upstairs, meaningly, God or Allah, right? He's worried about, like, these guys are worried about something, while he and Ash, they sometimes look up. The others, they don't, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, he's dead. Anybody ever tell you look different?
He said something. I don't know what he said, right? I mean, notice he said something. There are a couple of instances where he utters words, but you just don't know what he uttered, right? I wish I know what they are. Notice. Keep noticing Ash.
You look different.
Who is as if he's whispering. What is he whispering?
Oh, yeah, right. I just forgot something, man.
Yeah, he's a little bit concerned, right? Or a little bit excited or anxious about what this guy is up to or what he's doing, right? Now he's wearing green, like I said, he's disguised in green. And there's a reason to that. I'll tell you about it.
Before we dock, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation. Right.
And so, of course, so is Dallas. And there's also a reason for them wearing green. Time will come here in my commentary when I will explain them to you. Okay, I also made a comment yesterday about Neo being the xenomorph. No. I think I made a mistake. What I meant to say is Neo or Keanu Reeves in the Matrix movie is equivalent to Cain, right? He is the one to be sacrificed. Because if you watched my commentary on the Matrix, toward the end when Neo was being chased by the agents, and then the ship was being attacked by the Sentinels, right? Sentinels, like sentient, Sentinel, like a machine that is now has gained consciousness. This is used in the AI field, right? That some machines, AI, artificial intelligence machines, become, cross the threshold or boundary of mechanical into the conscious, right? And they become conscious. You know, you will always hear about that, just in case you hear sentient or sentinel. So that these were the sentinels that were attacking the Nebuchadnezzar, right? But then the agents, you know, then Tank sends Neo to the place where Trinity was in the beginning of the movie, and then Neo gets killed. But then he gets up and fight the agents. I told you in my commentary that the real Neo got killed, but the Neo that was on the seat, and then Trinity kissed him, you know, and he woke up, right, and so on, and that is not him. That's either his son or his clone, or a clone, or a what's called IVF, or intravenous fertilization, right, or cloning, right, from, or artificial insemination, like by stealing sperms and so on, is what I meant to say is Cain, right? So Cain here is akin to Neo. He eventually gets whacked, sacrificed, but his whatever he brought or whatever he has now gets transferred into a new Neo, right? Toward the end, and then Morpheus and Trinity and the new Neo, that's her son, right? Or her, uh, uh, you know, like when she kisses him, that's the Neo that was her husband. But the one that wakes up at the end, very end of the movie, that's her son from the first Neo, right? But you really have to know what you're talking about here, right? And that's what Neo is. Neo is Cain, and this here is Trinity. Now, I also wanted to say, I mentioned this before in early on in the commentary, that when you see slots like this stacked up against each other, you know, or on top of each other, these are resources. These, and then this is blue, right? So these are the militias. These are the employees. These are the protectors of this place here, or they are part of this crew here, right? This is Zion. I'm still believing that Nebuchadnezzar, and as much as I believe Nebuchadnezzar was, that the Nostromo is really Zion, right? So as I mentioned, Neo, I said Neo was the xenomorph. No, Neo is not the xenomorph, right? And I wanted to show you something else too. Here I made commentary, and I put a comment under my video, but I'm going to show it to you visually here. So as you can see, there is a special bond or relationship between the two. However, if you notice correctly, they're dressed the same. You know, the jacket, black jacket, or at least dark jacket, right? Blue shirt, blue, you know, except of course for the blue jeans. But there's some kind of affinity between the two, right? See this guy, Haloran or Narullah al-Muqada. So the chapter in Quran is called وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. I'll try to put the link for it and probably the explanation for it in the commentary here on this particular video, right? But that's who he is, and look at the affinity between the two. There's a link here. There's a bond. This guy knows this guy. The mother is looking away while these two are communicating, right? So even though she is his mother, but he is really something else, right? I mean, he belongs to another world, is what here is being said, right? Red? I don't know. Red? Maybe that's what he is. He's a red. And he's a blue, right? So go figure, right? And here, if you look closely, we are talking about, right? We're talking about gold, and we're talking about resources, and in the fridge, right, and so on, and banks and whatnot. Protocol 25. Or wait a minute, Protocol 2025. That's if and who ever goes back to the White House, if big if, right? You can expect that Protocol 2025 to take effect, right? But this is very telling, right? This is very telling here, between the two. I mean, I wish to be able, I wish to have time to explain all that to you here, and it makes a lot of sense. All those movies, iconic movies, including Stargate, including these, they all hover about the same entities, the same representations, the same archetypes, the same uh, personalities, the same groups, the same religions. It's like they all circle, imagine them like different planets circling around the sun, right? The sun is so and so, and the planets are those movies, right? So the sun would be, mainly God or Allah, right? And then take, for example, big movie is Jupiter, smaller movie is Uranus, and and so on and so forth, right? But notice here, while she's not looking, right, he's getting things done with him. Maybe because he eventually, right? Remember, he eventually dies at the end of the movie. He is preparing to transfer, right? Whatever here, whatever has possessed Halloran or Narullah, right, is now getting ready to transfer into Damien. Here, I believe that's Damien, or at least a representation of the personality thereof. So here, he is getting ready to probably transition or transform, similar to, whatever was in Cain, right, went into Jonesy or will go into Jonesy. You don't see that yet, but when I show you, you will believe, right? And here, it looks to me, this is a safe, right? I wondered what that was, right? If you look closely, it's a safe, right? Let me try to show you. There you go. This is a safe, right? Looks to me, that's what it looks to me like. This is a bank vault, and this is a safe, right? Right? She's a little bit mesmerized, right? Mesmerized. And he's laughing, He's about to hand him, to transfer all that to him, right? That's what it looks like to me. This is a safe, money safe. That's where, remember those movies, right? Those movies, bank robbers, and they go inside and pull the safe. Like it looks a lot like that. Okay, I got something to say about bank robbers. Give me a second. So here, sometimes it's a little bit confusing. Like I said, there are alliances. Remember that alliance program on CBS, where people, is it, I think, Survivor or something of the sort? People make alliances, and I think there's something akin to that here. If you look at this crew, sometimes you see them on the same page and congruent and coherent about, the mission and so on. And sometimes you try to like smell rat, like you see that there is something that is not right. They're like state within a state, alliances and plots and plans and intrigue and so on. Although it's not so obvious, but it's very obvious if you know how to read it, right? I don't know, but something hit me yesterday that in bank robberies in movies, like if you look at movies with bank robberies, right? Take, for example, I think there's a movie by Robert De Niro, as well as I think Ray Liotta. I am not sure. And they go rob a place, right? Rob a bank, and then eventually they go against each other, right? Something rises among them, and they go into a competition, and or something similar to you know that Joker. I forgot the movie's name when they go into a bank, right? And even during the robbery, they start shooting each other, right? Like the guy who was doing the who was cutting off the communications or the light or whatnot, and then the guy who's wearing the mask just behind him, shoots him right in the. He first makes sure, he asks him, is it done? He says done or something of the sort, and then he shoots him right in the back of the head, right? And I think that's Batman, maybe. Maybe Batman. I forgot the name of the movie, but it was that guy who committed suicide, right? Oh gosh, I forgot his name. And when he goes into the bank and they go into the bank and then they shoot each other even during the robbery, even though they when they came and processed or progressed into the robbery, they seemed to be like the bond and brotherhood and so on of the robbers. But then when the money starts flashing, they shoot each other. So here I am trying to understand, right? And I see both ways, right? I see alliances, but sometimes I see there is a unity, right, of the crew, right? Unity of the purpose and loyalty and so on. But sometimes I don't see it, right? So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Up for discussion, of course. Okay, here again, I have a little bit confusion about those helmets because there are 5 of them only, right? So I concluded or surmised out of that that Parker and Brett didn't have that. Well, you know, a helmet is as much as a helmet is for protection as much as it is for disguise, right? So what I'm thinking now is this, right? Notice when she sits down, when Lambert sits down. So as I said earlier, you know, like the cat is not exactly of the two, right? It's not exactly of Lambert or Sarah, Hagar or Sarah, right? You know, maybe not one of the two. So he's a cat, right? And this guy is a third kind, right? Is a third kind. While Parker uh, uh, and uh, and Brett are something else, right? And they're to be wasted or something. So protection, but then notice, I mean, it could be a coincidence for, don't get me wrong, right? But I think these are the spirits, right? Since we all, you know, by way of Islam, and that was the first introduction of us having spirits among us, aside from the physical body or organic substance that we are made of, right? Ancient organic clay, according to our Quran and, you know, Prophet and so on. So there is a spirit. So maybe that's what it is. These are the spirits of, you know, those people. But look at Cain. Cain, like I said, he's something.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
Keep looking at Ash behind her. See how he's looking at her? So here, everybody, you know, she seems to be very oblivious to what's going on. The only one, she and Cain, right? Cain is the rash type, you know, the reckless, the one that takes risks and so on, unnecessary risks, right? And he always falls, right? Eventually he falls. And she seems to be oblivious to that, you know, like she's uninitiated, dumb shit, right? Excuse my language. While she's pretty much burned, right? She's like, she's wily, uh, foxy, well, filled with intrigue woman, right? You know, like riddles and riddled with plots and so on. So does he, but he, look out how he's looking at her now. Keep looking.
We all hear that, Lambert?
And then he sits across from here, right? And she's looking at her too. And so is he. Everybody is looking at her. Now, why she? Right? Because the entity or whoever is going to come back to the ship is going across here and her heritage, right? Which is Cain. And then she is related to Ash. She, Ripley, tested that and got a positive response from here, even though it was unwitting, right? An unwitting response, unwillingly, right? Response when she asked her if she slept with him, right? And then she said she's not interested and so on. She realized that there's a relationship, right? And that relationship, he turns out to be eventually her offspring, right? Not directly, but way later, right? Her offspring. He, right? They are making the assumption that while he is one of her offsprings later, but he exists as a spirit or something of the sort, as an angel, right? Now, he is described as a very intelligent person, right? When I showed you that deleted scene, Brett says, you know, you're the science officer, right? He's the one who brought science into the world, right? Or his group thereof, right? And then Parker said he was afraid, right? So we know who that guy is. We know he and his group generated the science for humanity. So now these guys, right, make the assumption that a real man just can't go that far, right? So he must have been existing all along, and he must be some kind of a supernatural entity, and so on, eventually materializing into a man. That's what they're saying. You will understand all that I'm saying when I identify this guy to you based on the evidence from the movie itself, right? And again, there's a spirit, there's that spirit, or the helmet, I don't know, right? Okay, now, like I mentioned earlier in the commentary, this is similar to signs, right? Where the humming and so on is really a chat between the entities, the other entities. And then you got your 2, 4, 6, blah, 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 blah. And you always notice, right? The reflections, light reflections. This is not accidental, or the set has some kind of reflective surfaces on it or something of the sort. No, no, this is intentional. What does it really mean? I really don't know. Notice on her neck as well, right? So the reflection here, I think it means that the communication and talk is really about hair, right? Notice. So when the humming starts and the communications, background communications, you would see she's got reflections on her face and possibly ash, right? And I think that's what it means, that humming background noise or communications between the spiritual entities or the world of spirits or the ghost, call them ghosts, right? Is really about her and him and Cain, but Cain here is not seen. And then she kind of like, the way she looks as if she's being influenced by that, right?
God.
Good God. When they say good God, that means here they mean that humming noise and the sound and the chatter and the chitter or whatever that sound is really the sound of God, right?
Doesn't sound like any radio signal I've heard.
Right? She heard a lot of radio signals, right? But she never heard this kind of voice before.
Maybe it's a voice.
Maybe it's a voice. It's not a signal, right? So the humming is really a voice of communications, right?
Well, we'll soon know. Can you hone in on that?
What was the opposite?
And now, while he's silent, notice he's looking to his left, right? If that signifies anything, now he's got like a whole he's got so much information and knowledge and figured out like so the signs and realized he probably understood what that language is, right? Or the voice that they didn't understand. They heard the voice, right? He probably understood it, right? Maybe he speaks that language, right?
6550-99.
I don't know what that means. As soon as he got that, right? As soon as he heard that, he gets up and walks, right? Notice his hand. Notice his hand.
-99.
Did you see what he said? What he did? He gestured, right? He gestured something. Either he said, hold on, or something. He's communicating to the entity or the spirit here.
All right, I found the quadrant. Ascension, 6 minutes, 20 seconds.
And like I said, I commented on this. I really can't say. Maybe they're talking about like a place where supposedly heaven is or God is, or, you know, maybe because he said God and that was the chatter. So that's where the chatter is coming from, right? I couldn't understand 655-0-99. I explained it in one of the videos, I think 1, 2, or 3 or something of the sort, or maybe 4. But I really never concluded to what it really is. But I think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about heaven and or a place on earth, right? So if you calculate that, maybe it's longitude, latitude. I don't know. I don't think so, right? But you may find a place. There are those who works in NASA and elsewhere. They will know how to calculate that because there is something called ascension and declination. minutes and so on. Now the minutes and seconds are longitudinal, right?
Declination 39.
39 degrees. I don't know. Sounds like if you told me it was what's it like 33rd degrees, I would think it's Albert Pike. Albert Pike and his Scottish rights and so on, right? But I don't know. I mean, 39, 3 by 9, right? 27 or 3 plus 9, 12. I don't know. All these numbers are occultic numbers, esoteric and arcane and occults and, metaphors and similes and so on. I am not good in that. I've never been in that world, right? 2 seconds, right?
Degrees, 2 seconds.
But if this is a physical location on Earth or in space, someone is bound to know that, how to calculate that and where it is.
Okay, put that on the screen for me.
So that's hairs, right? And that's Balaji. Remember I told you Balaji? I think that's a royal, I think that's who they mean by it. Notice the wings, right? The Magi's and their wing, right? And notice, Zoroaster, there was Zoroaster, right? But he really never had left any traces. And all that you hear about Zend Avesta or whatnot, these are modern forgeries, man, similar to the Dead Sea Scrolls and cuneiform tablets and, right? But that's him. That's what I think he is. I think he is the Khazarian, right? Or Persian, based on those wings. Magi, right? He's the main Magi, whose place of worship, right, or sanctuary is a fireplace, right? Fireplace. And I think that's who he's like mixed with Jewish, right? Because he's wearing turban. Despite all that you don't like about Arabs, all the children of Israel used to wear like Arabs today, right? That headgear, both turban and the other one that they wear today. So I think that's what it is. Ba, laji. Now, ba in Arabic is used as well. Ba and bu and bal, like Balfour, that's from Arabic, right? So ba, laji. Ba, laji. Or bulaji. I don't know. But that's what I think this here is. And maybe it's a coincidence with the actor's name, Bolaji, the Nigerian actor. Other than that, I don't see anything else here. I mean, there's probably, you can read that and count. And if you look here, eventually you will see this particular screen here when Lambert is tracking down the alien as Dallas went to confront the aliens in the ducts, right? Other than that, you see that these are communications, blah, blah, yeah, I don't know. Here there's like an earpiece or something of the sort, right? Okay. So here it's not obviously available due to my poor quality, my equipment's poor quality of equipment, but the ship is right here. So it's landing on this planetoid here. And there's that planetoid. This is the other planetoid. As you can see, I told you this was the Red Sea, right? And this one is almost identical to it, and so is this one, right? So they're apparently, so what they're trying to say is these are the sons, right, of this particular planet, who is Abraham, and then that's Lambert and Ishmael, and then this is Arabia. Why am I saying this? Is because now this scene and the events that befall, or the misfortune that befalls Cain, is really in Arabia, right? Because that's where Abraham sent him and his mother, right? Due to the bribing and all the BS of the hate of the other woman, right? And that's where Sarah is, right? And these are everybody else. Like I told you, this is a very ugly concept, but hey, some people just think like that, I guess, right? So you don't see that, huh? But if you look closely, it's like that's where the ship is. I don't know. I always was confused about those type of pipes, right? Or ducts or tubes and so on. Ducts. So it's red now, meaningly that's the probably a medium of communications or provisions of money and supplies and arms and weapons. Red means also, red alert and so on, right? I don't know. I mean, this here is still confusing. You saw it even on the tentacles of the face hugger as it jumped up out of its egg and then hugged Cain. Again, notice here. See the reflections? Ash doesn't have those reflections. She does, right? There's like a map or something. I don't know. And I mentioned to you that this is a military expedition to secure the safe of the money, right? It has a lot of spiritual meanings to it, right? Disguised and covered up by a lot of divergence and its spirituality and ghosts and so on and so forth. But at the end, it's about power and money, right? That's why they're here. And this is a military expedition. And notice when they land and the wind is howling and they're blowing steam or probably, fire, fire flamethrower or something, right? They crush few of these cities and whatnot. Notice. See, he also has that reflection on his face, right? Including that, what is it, octagon, couple of octagons, like within each other, and the two dots. You see those two dots as well in Ripley's face, and that's what you see down in the pit when Cain descended, right? And then you see it floating as a blue octagon floating above the surface of the blue surface, right? And I don't know what that means, right? I don't know. I mean, here there's a map, maybe. You never know. But what I'm trying to say here is, there's something here. Maybe it's the language of demons or something of the sort. Notice when they step on this rocks here, you may think it's it's the landscape or the terrain, right? They have no choice but to land here. But I think in the movie here it means they're crushing units, right? The battle commences and they just crushed few units here by way of F-15s maybe. I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying here. So they crushed few units here. I don't know, like B-52s and whatnot. Okay, here what he means by load sharing unit is I think is a dispensation system such as a bank or a banking transmission or transfer or things of the sort, providing for the units that are fighting. Here goes. Load sharing unit could also mean communications, right? Something broke down. So this here, as I explained at the beginning of the commentary, right? Video 1, 2, 3 probably, is that they're surprised now. This expedition was supposed to be like a total surprise. They have the initiative. They no longer have the initiative, is what I'm thinking. And again, those always, show up in the right moment, right? It's like, I forgot the term for it, not serendipity, rather. They show up when they mean something, right? Two 4 cells are gone. Units, that's units, right? So units are destroyed. So apparently there is the other side, the enemy side is in fact ready for them, is what I am saying.
Is that it?
Okay, I explained those before, and I don't have any more theories, any better theories about what they are, right? And now he's making his prayer, right? I don't know what that means. I see it sometimes now. Don't try to explain it. I don't care for it. I don't care to know what it is. All right, so
Look, we couldn't fix it out here anyway. We got to reroute all these ducts, and in order to do that, we've got to drive dock.
so this may be a call to withdraw, right? Stop the expedition. Like change your mind and so on. That's a possibility. I don't know. Okay, today I'm gonna stop here on commentary, and in the next movie, in the next video, it'll be commentary, but I want to show you something else before. And I think once I show you that in the next video, which will be in the commentary section as well, that retrospect hindsight commentary, and then we'll move on to video number 6, continue on the movie itself. Well, have a nice day. Today is October 28th, 2024, 8:11 p.m.